welcome to My Catholic Perspective. I am Allie Marie, a Catholic convert and realist. I live in a subdivision where speeding is an issue. There is a 25-mile-an-hour sign at the entrance, but it's blocked by trees and weeds and nobody can really see it. So say a handful of households in the neighborhood and I decided that we wanted to get together to talk about what we could potentially implement to reduce speeding in the neighborhood. Say the person who offers to host is Buddhist. They say they want to host a dinner for everybody and so we're all going to go. If I were to show up, they may say, when we all sit down to eat, that they would like to first thank the food for being there for us to eat. I naturally would then speak up and say, well, could I say grace as well? I can't imagine that if they were going to be hospitable, that they would say, no way, you can't do the sign of the cross in this household. What are you thinking? They would say, sure. And so I would do the sign of the cross and then begin with, bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. And then we would proceed to eat and talk. Their hospitality doesn't say anything about agreeing with what my faith is, but rather they just respect that since I am coming to the table with my insights and ideas, that I would like my faith to be encompassing what I have to say. The same goes for the hospitality that was shown at the Vatican when the Amazonians showed up. If you haven't seen it, basically Amazonians came from Asia Minor and Turkey to discuss different aspects of Catholic dogma from their cultural perspective. They performed a ritual that included dancing around two Gaia statues, which is their goddess for Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and then they also prostrated themselves in front of it. The priestess did a little blessing, all while Pope Francis and the cardinals sat there and watched. While I agree that idol worship is obviously not okay, Pope Francis did not participate in the worship. His hospitality to the Amazonian people didn't indicate an agreement with their ritual, but rather just a respect toward their faith into the insight that they were about to bring to the table. I have 6 specific instances that I want to discuss from watching the videos, reading articles that I believe support this statement. Before I get into those though, I have to clarify that a synod cannot change dogma. There has to be a formal council for dogma of the church to be developed. A synod is simply a congregation of many people, laity, priests, whatever. It's a whole compilation of people so that they can discuss ideas and thoughts and insights into why they think a particular dogma may come forward. It does not mean that they are drafting dogma from anything that is said at this synod. I'd like to give a quick thank you to patron Trail Reeves and viewer Punisher Thunder for requesting this video and offering me links and insights into what the outrage is all about. The first piece I want to talk about is about the location. The Vatican had offered to host this synod. If it had been hosted in Asia Minor or Turkey, would we be outraged if they hadn't allowed the Pope to perform a mass and if they had rejected attending a mass said by the Pope? Or would it have been okay if he had sat through their ritual because they were on their turf and not in the Vatican gardens? Or should he have put his nose up in the air and not attended altogether? I don't know how that would have opened dialogue in any way when they are coming together to try to understand where the other person is coming from their cultural backgrounds. How much more humbling must it have been for the Amazonians knowing that they were at the Vatican and the Pope still allowed them to share their ideologies regardless of location? Secondly, one of the articles I read said that Pope Francis sat comfortably next to the cardinals as they performed this ritual. Did you watch the videos? No time when the camera was on Pope Francis was he clapping and swaying to the music. No. He was staring at his program, breathing heavily. You can literally see his entire body. He's like... So to say that he sat there comfortably and was enjoying the ceremony is not even accurate and a complete skew of the actual event in the same media narrative that we have seen time and time again. So consider your source. There was another upsetting piece in a few articles that stated that a friar danced with the Amazonians. I couldn't find his name. I wanted to double check my intuition and see if what I thought was correct, but I couldn't. All I have to say is he likely had some Amazonian heritage and danced with the Amazonians to respect that. Plain and simple. After the dancing was done, the Amazonians came up in a processional to Pope Francis and gave him one of the Gaia statues. He then blessed it, which some people thought was outrageous that he would do. I'm confused about this because what else was he supposed to do? Aren't we supposed to bless things that we think are intrinsically evil? Was he supposed to throw a crucifix at it to see if it seared itself into the side? Then there's the second issue with the receival of the statue, that when the synod began, they placed the Gaia statue at a place of honor in front of the panel of the Pope and the cardinals. Think back to my neighborhood analogy. Say I showed up with a crucifix and the Buddhist decided to take it and put it at the center of the dinner table while we talked. How honorable is that? To say, I don't agree with your religion, but I want this conversation to be fruitful, and so I am going to respect your insight and your viewpoint, where you're coming from, so much that I'm going to make this the focal point of the table. Isn't that what love is? Willing the good of another and placing their wants and desires before our own? The other thing that happened when the dancing ended and the processional went up to greet Pope Francis, nearly every single Amazonian knelt to Pope Francis and did the sign of the cross. I think this is a really important aspect to consider when we're talking about respecting each other's faith. How many Amazonians back in Asia Minor or Turkey are so upset that they would do that? Like, they just disrespected everything that they just did. You just did away with everything you just did. Like, they did the sign of the cross, and they are saying, we long to be in union with you in whatever way that we can. Pope Francis made that possible by allowing them to perform their ritual, even though it goes against our religion, by welcoming them and allowing them to share a piece of their pride, joy, heart, soul, everything with us. Meeting people where they are is the only way to open dialogue. Who knows what kinds of seeds Pope Francis planted and is planting during this synod? For all we know, some of these Amazonians could even convert Catholic. In summation, Pope Francis could have told them that they couldn't have performed the ritual, but that could have deterred them from coming all together. To write off certain people because of their chosen religious sect hinders us from being able to grow, because there could be pertinent knowledge that they could offer to us that helps us grow spiritually and personally. You never know who might impact you or who you may impact next. I hope this video was able to offer you a Catholic perspective that was missed by both the Catholic and secular media. Perhaps we can choose to give Pope Francis the benefit of the doubt, just like we hope others give us when we are working with good intentions. Our deepest prayer truly should be that this synod would do nothing but positively impact our faith and the world around us. When we allow these types of instances to divide us instead of bring us together, that is the devil. Because God is universal. We look at Catholic, it means universal. God is the only God. Our God exists. And if there is offense taken in pagan idol worship, I believe that that has to be rooted in a sense of insecurity. A girl has to be confident in her own beauty to be able to acknowledge the beauty of another. Have security in your Catholic faith. God is God. There are multiple understandings of him out there, but ultimately, yes, Catholicism is the surest way to salvation. That doesn't mean that we should negate and write off and deter others from seeking us and meeting us where we are as we meet them where they are. I pray God grants you the resources you need to draw closer to him and to those around you. I hope you're able to make it a great day, and I'll see you next Thursday.